At least they took responsibility for the pain and the spectacle and the violence and the accusation in their life. I don't know if we take responsibility all the time, but the world is really good at crucifying the best things in our life. It's never as dramatic as Jesus and Barabbas, but TV takes over family, and work takes over Sabbath, and money takes over everything. I believe, it's just me, I believe Jesus figured out a better way to live. And I trust the way he lived his life and what he taught and what he did in his life, and I'm not able to do it all. I just can't. But I trust that he points me to a better way to get through this life in the light and the darkness. I do not believe that following Jesus makes life easier. I wish I could tell you that Jesus takes on just all the junk on his shoulders so you don't have to. I wish I could just offer you a formula, 10 easy steps. We could do a 10 series and sermons, and then you'd have all the answers. One size fits all. But I can't tell you that. I wish I could promise that if you do this thing and you do that thing, then your life is going to turn out just like this or like that. But I can't promise that. And when things do go wrong, and when life turns upside down and backwards and our perspective is swirling around, and you feel like you've done everything you're supposed to do, but it just doesn't work, and everything that shouldn't happen just swallows you up, I wish I could offer some shortcut, some little hint. Here's how to get through this. My job is just to tell the good news and not to offer wishful thinking. Friends, I do not believe that following Jesus makes life easier, but I do trust that God has a better life in mind. And I do think, even when we look, maybe especially when we look at Jesus' darkest, most critical crisis moments, I think he points us to something brighter, some glimmer of hope. Just about everything in the world tells me that power always wins. That effort and knowledge always equals success. And that there's almost always a right and a wrong. And I'm on one side and you're on the other. Almost everything in the world tells me that if you have enough faith, good things are supposed to come your way. And all that makes a lot of sense, and it might even seem like an easier path. And it's tempting. But just about everything that Jesus does, especially in this last week, points to the fact that strength isn't nearly as strong as patience and love. And people will fail you, but we trust them anyway, and great things can happen from it. And answers are never going to be clear, but we keep asking questions. And life, chaotic. It can be tinged with despair, but it always holds a glimmer of peace. I do not believe that following Jesus makes life easier, but I trust that God knows what it feels like to suffer and to be disoriented and to be lonely. And I trust that hope lifts when our hearts fall. And I trust that light shines even when the shadows are darkest. And I trust that growth happens when we feel stuck. And I trust that comfort comes when we fear deeply. And I trust that faith blossoms even when joy seems most distant. 5 years ago, the darkest, most fearful, hopeless place, probably on the whole planet, where everyone just felt stuck. Maybe the worst place to live in the whole world was in Haiti. 5 years ago, it wasn't just poverty, it wasn't just disease. There really was no opportunity. There was no stability, no jobs, no college, no honor rolls. Health was terrible for everyone there. There was no money. The dirt in Haiti, it wasn't dirt like you're used to. We get stressed out by dirt, but that dirt, you can't even look at it. You can't smell it. You can't approach just how disgusting it is to walk through the slums in PAP. And really, they had nothing in their lives except for music and dancing and some religion. That was all they had to meet their despair. And 4 years ago, it only got worse. Do we remember? It was just 4 years and a couple months ago, an earthquake, and the people who had nothing lost everything. And then what happens? The aid workers come in, and they spread cholera. And the NGOs, they bring food and water, so what do the people do when the food and water that they can't get to? They often fight with each other. They had to. It was desperate. Neighbors nearly killing each other just to get a little. I've been to Haiti, just a short kind of period of life, but it was really overwhelming. The desolation and the destruction that I saw was as close to anything I could imagine to the sense of what it would be like walking to the hill where Jesus was going to die. Death was in the air, literally and figuratively. And after the earthquake, there was an emptiness. There was an absurdity to their situation. I can only just imagine that little sliver of what the disciples might have felt like as their friend was being taken away, their friend who was supposed to change the whole world, a teacher who had the answers to a better life, but he's lost, and their hopes and their dreams were crashing down. The world was shattered